Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are going to a place that I think a lot of our listeners, you probably know it intimately, even if you've never physically stepped foot there.
Right.
We're going to a place that smells like smoked brisket, diesel fumes, and a very specific kind of desperation.
You are painting quite the picture already. I can almost feel the
Okay.
humidity.
I want you to feel it. I'm talking about Austin, Texas. Specifically, I want to take you to like a Tuesday night during South by Southwest, or maybe just a regular chaotic Tuesday at the Capitol Factory or during Austin Tech Week.
Right, the epicenter of the hustle.
Exactly.
The land of the unicorn hunters.
Exactly. I want you to imagine the scene because it is absolutely crucial to understanding the problem we're trying to solve today.
Okay, I'm there.
It's sticky humid. You are standing on a patio on Rainy Street or maybe outside a food truck park on East 6th. There are string lights buzzing overhead. There are always string lights.
Always. It's a rule.
It's the law. You've got a lukewarm Lone Star beer in one hand, you're clutching a half-eaten taco in the other, and you are just surrounded by noise.
It is a very specific frequency of noise, isn't it? It's not just, chatter. It isn't just people catching up about their kids. It's pitching.
Constant pitching.
It's the sound of 5,000 geeks and visionaries and absolute hustlers all trying to explain why their AI wrapper or their new sauce platform is, going to change the world.
You are in the trenches. You are trading business cards like they are currency. You are scanning QR codes until your phone battery hits, like 4%. You're shaking hands until your wrist hurts.
Right.
And in that moment, with the music thumping and the adrenaline pumping, it feels like you are winning.
It feels like work. It feels like progress. You are doing the thing. You're out there.
But that feeling is a lie, or at least it's a trap. And that brings us to the topic of today's deep dive. We are looking at a stack of research, articles, and case studies that describe a phenomenon we are calling the Austin paradox.
And the paradox is simple, but it's brutal. You can be the best networker in the room. You can be the most charismatic person at the happy hour. You can collect the most business cards, and you can still fail.
In fact,
the more successful you are at that networking part, the more likely you are to fail at the actual business part.
we are calling it the handshake to nowhere.
Oof.
Yeah.
That is a devastating phrase. The handshake to nowhere.
It is. But today isn't just about the problem. We are not just here to complain about burnout. We are looking at a solution that is honestly a bit surprising. It involves a very specific model of remote staffing, a company called VA Connect, that is pronounced VA Connect.
VA Connect. Got it.
And a concept the sources call linguistic neutrality.
So we are going to talk about how a founder in Austin or, London or New York can use a team in South Africa to essentially clone themselves. And I want to be clear right off the top here. We are not talking about standard outsourcing. Yeah. We are not talking about a call center. We are talking about something the sources refer to as a humanization protocol.
Which sounds like sci-fi.
It does.
It sounds like something Elon Musk would announce. But when you look at the data, it's actually just really, really smart logistics. So let's start with the pain. Let's unpack the Austin paradox. Why is success at the party leading to failure at the office?
To understand the paradox, you have to look at the sort of the math of networking. We have this romantic idea of the founder who is out every night, meeting investors, building buzz.
Yeah.
It's the always-on mode.
The grind, the hustle, sleep when you're dead, all the cliches.
Right, all of that. But let's look at the numbers from our source material because they're pretty staggering.
Yeah.
I have a quote here from an anonymous sauce founder who shared their experience on a Reddit thread about burnout.
Okay.
They said, and I'm quoting, "I came back from 3 meetups with 87 new contacts. By week 3, I'd followed up with exactly 4.
Wait, let me process that. 87 new contacts.
87.
And he followed up with 4.
4.
That is what?
Yeah.
That's a 95% failure rate? That's insane.
It is essentially total failure. And the tragedy is, those 83 people you didn't email, they are not just names on an Ocean page.
No.
That is potential capital. That is partnership opportunities. That is mentorship. That is money you essentially just lit on fire because you didn't have the bandwidth to type an email.
But hold on, I have to play devil's advocate here. Typing an email isn't hard, right? I mean, it takes 2 minutes. Why is the drop-off so steep? Is it just laziness?
Yeah, no, it's not laziness. It is bandwidth and context switching. That's the real killer.
Explain that.
Think about the morning after that mixer. You wake up. You are probably a little hungover.
Probably.
You open your laptop, but you don't open your email to network. You open your email to find a crisis.
The server is down.
Server's down, or a product bug just took down your payment gateway.
Oh, God.
You have a developer who just quit to go work for Google. You have a landlord asking about rent. You are fighting fires from the second you wake up.
So you're just in complete survival mode.
Exactly. And in the hierarchy of urgent versus important, emailing that guy Mike about coffee feels important, but fixing the payment gateway that's losing you money every second, that is urgent.
Right.
So the follow-up slides. It slides to Thursday, then it slides to next Monday.
And then 2 weeks go by, and suddenly emailing Mike feels weird. It feels awkward.
Exactly. The guilt gap opens up.
The guilt gap. I like that.
By the time you finally write, "Hey, Mike, great meeting you," Mike has forgotten who you are. He's met another 50 founders since then.
Or worse.
Or worse, Mike was an investor who was genuinely interested, but because you ghosted him for 2 weeks, he assumes you're disorganized. He assumes you can't handle the pressure.
Oof. So the silence itself sends a signal, a really bad one.
It sends a very loud signal. There is a brutal sentiment we found in their venture capital threads. One investor put it so bluntly. He said, "VCs want metrics, not your exhaustion."
That is harsh. VCs want metrics, not your exhaustion.
It is harsh, but it's the reality of the market. They don't care how hard you were working. They don't care that you stayed up until 3 a.m. fixing the code. They care about execution.
Right.
And if you cannot execute a simple follow-up sequence, why would they trust you with a $5 million Series A check?
That's the kicker, isn't it? It's a competency test that you don't even realize you're taking.
And you're failing it. So the traditional advice here, if you talk to any business coach, is hire someone.
Right.
If you are overwhelmed, you need leverage.
Yeah. Get a chief of staff. Get a business development rep to handle the top of the funnel.
Which sounds great in theory, but we are talking about startups here, seed stage. Money is, it's tight.
It's more than tight. It's life or death.
And that brings us to the financial reality check. If you are in Austin or San Francisco or New York, hiring a competent human being to sit in a chair next to you is incredibly, unbelievably expensive.
So what are the numbers looking like these days? Because I feel like inflation has just blown everything up.
For a junior business development role, or like a high-level executive assistant in a tech hub, you are looking at a base salary of $80,000 to $120,000.
Just for the salary. That's before we even talk about all the extras.
That's just the base.
Yeah.
But for anything else, then you add health insurance, payroll tax, benefits, a laptop, a desk, the snacks in the kitchen,
Gapucha on tap.
the kombucha,
Yeah.
and equity. Do not forget the equity. If you are hiring employee number 4, they want a piece of the pie, a significant piece.
So you're looking at what? $150,000 a year minimum, all in, plus giving away part of your company.
For a seed stage startup, that is your entire runway for 3 or 4 months. It is impossible. You physically cannot do it.
So then founders swing to the other extreme, and I've seen this happen 100 times. They go to gig economy, they go to Upwork, they go to Fiverr, they hire a random freelancer for $10 an hour.
Right. I just need a body approach, I'll just get someone cheap to do it fallacy.
I've done this. It can be very mixed, to be polite.
Mixed is very generous. The sources highlight what they call the management overhead trap with these platforms.
Oh, this is so real.
You spend more time explaining the task than it would take to do it yourself. You have to write these incredibly detailed briefs. You have to check their work, then correct their work, then explain the correction.
And often there is a language barrier or context barrier. They don't get the nuance.
Huge. And look, those platforms are great for certain things. If you need a logo design or a one-off task, fine. But we are talking about investor relations. You cannot have a $10 an hour freelancer writing sensitive emails to top-tier VCs.
One typo in the subject line and you look like spam.
Precisely. If the tone is off, if the grammar is shaky, the investor just hits delete. They're done with you.
And your opportunity is gone.
It's gone forever. So you are stuck. You are stuck between a $150,000 rock and a low-quality hard place. That is the Austin paradox. You need help, but you can't afford the good help, and you can't trust the cheap help.
Enter the solution. The sources point us to a very specific spot on the map, not Silicon Valley, not New York,
Nope.
South Africa, and specifically an agency called VA Connect. That's VA Connect.
Now, before we get into the company itself, we really need to talk about geography. Because normally when we talk about outsourcing, we think about time zones as the enemy, as the big problem to solve.
Right. We think about the graveyard shift.
Exactly. Let's say you hire someone as the Philippines or India. Great talent there, absolutely. But if you want them to work U.S. hours Central Time, they are working through the night. They are starting their workday at 9 p.m. and finishing at 5 a.m. their time.
That just destroys you. I don't care who you are, that is not sustainable.
It destroys your circadian rhythm. It leads to health issues, massive burnout, and really high turnover. You hire someone, they last 3 months, they burn out, they quit, and you have to start the whole process over again.
Or the other way, they work their day, which is your night,
Yeah.
and you have that 12-hour lag. I send an email, I wait a full 24 hours for a reply. Nothing gets done fast.
But South Africa is in what the sources call the Goldilocks zone. It is GMT plus 2.
Okay, walk us through the math for our Austin founder. Why does GMT plus 2 matter so much?
Okay, let's say our founder, let's call him Dave, finishes his networking event at 10:00 p.m. Central Time. He is exhausted. He smells like tacos and beer. He has a pocket full of business cards and QR codes.
Dave is ready to pass out. Dave is done.
Dave is absolutely done. But in South Africa, in Johannesburg or Cape Town, it is 6:00 a.m. the next day. The sun is coming up. The birds are chirping.
Oh, I see where this is going. This is good.
This is what the sources call the while you sleep workflow. It's the secret weapon. Dave takes photos of the business cards. He mumbles a few voice notes into Slack or Notion, just raw data, no filter, and he hits send. Then he goes to sleep.
And while Dave is dreaming of unicorns and term sheets?
His team in Johannesburg is pouring their first cup of coffee. They are fresh. They are rested. They work a full, normal business day while Dave sleeps.
So they're processing the contacts.
They're processing the contacts. They're writing the personalized emails. They're updating the CRM. By the time Dave's alarm goes off at 7 a.m. Austin time, his inbox is clear. The meetings are booked. The decks are sent.
It's like he has a 24-hour manufacturing plant for his administrative life.
That is exactly what it is. It's a relay race where the baton never, ever drops. And because their day finishes around 11:00 a.m. or 12:00 p.m. U.S. Central Time, there is this beautiful 4 to 5 hour overlap window in the morning.
So you can actually talk to them. It's not just asynchronous.
Yes.
Yep.
From 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., you can jump on a Zoom, you can have strategy session, you can do a live debrief. You get the asynchronous efficiency of the night shift and the real-time collaboration of a local team. It really is the best of both worlds.
But the time zone is only half the story, right? If the person on the other end can't write or can't communicate effectively, it doesn't matter what time it is.
Absolutely.
We have to talk about the language aspect. The sources really emphasize this concept of linguistic neutrality.
This was fascinating to read about. South Africa has a very, very unique position in the English-speaking world.
Explain that, because I think a lot of Americans, when they hear outsourcing, they immediately assume heavy accent. It's a bias, but it's there.
It is, and that's what's so different here. English is the primary business language in South Africa. But more importantly, the accent is generally described as neutral or global English. It's crisp. It's clear. It doesn't sound like a call center in that stereotypical way that can unfortunately undermine credibility.
And that matters for authority, for trust.
It matters hugely for authority. When you are doing high-level sales or investor relations, the way you speak, the way you write, it signals your competence. But beyond the accent, it's the cultural alignment.
Right.
South Africa has a very westernized business culture. They consume the same media. They follow the same business news.
So they get the jokes. They get the context.
They get the jokes. They get the sarcasm. They understand that when an American says, let's circle back, it means something very specific.
Me means maybe never.
It can mean maybe never. They understand the nuance between a polite refusal and a maybe. That cultural fit is often what's missing in other outsourcing hubs where the communications can be very, very literal, which can lead to missteps.
The sources mention Karen, the founder of VA Connect again. That's VA Connect. She talks about the captain work ethic.
Yes. She values the work ethic of a well-trained captain.
What does that mean in practice? What is a captain?
It means ownership. A captain doesn't just steer the ship. They are responsible for the ship, the crew, the cargo, everything.
Okay.
It's the difference between an employee who says, I did what you told me to do, and a partner who says, I saw a potential problem on the horizon, and I handled it before you even knew it was a problem.
That is the holy grail for any founder, proactive problem solving.
It is, and that bridges us perfectly into the actual mechanics of how they solve the Austin paradox. Because it's one thing to say, hire a South African VA, but it's another thing to have a system, a protocol that actually works.
Let's get into the weeds. I love the weeds. I want to look at how this actually solves the handshake to nowhere. The sources describe an investor relations protocol used by VA Connect.
This is the playbook.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are listening and you are a founder, you should pay very close attention because this effectively turns a chaotic founder into an absolute machine.
So step one is the warm handoff.
Right. Let's go back to Dave. Dave is at the party. He meets Sarah from Live Oak Venture Partners. She mentions she likes his churn metrics and wants to see the deck.
A high-stakes moment. A clear buying signal from a VC.
The kind you absolutely cannot drop. So Dave doesn't need to open his laptop. He doesn't need to write a reminder on the back of his hand. He just grabs his phone and records a quick voice note into his team Slack channel.
What's he say?
Something like, met Sarah, Live Oak, likes churn, send series a deck, try to get coffee for next week.
That's it. That's the entire input.
That is the input. It took 10 seconds. Dave then goes back to his beer. He's back in the game. Now, step two happens in South Africa while Dave sleeps. The VA Connect specialist, and notice the source material calls them a specialist, not just an assistant, picks this up.
Okay.
They log Sarah into HubSpot or Pipedrive. They tag her as a warm lead VC Tech Week.
Okay, that's standard admin stuff so far. Any VA could probably do that.
True. But here is where it gets really interesting. They don't just send the generic email. First, they go to LinkedIn. They research Sarah. What did she post recently? Where did she go to school?
Finding a point of connection.
Finding a hook. They send a personalized connection request. Great meeting you at the Capital Factory event, Sarah. Loved your recent post on fintech trends. Something like that. And then they draft the follow-up email using the humanization protocol.
Humanization protocol. I love that term. But it sounds contradictory, right? Usually when we delegate or automate something, it sounds less human, not more.
That is the common mistake. That's the trap of bad automation. We assume automation means robotics. But here, the goal is augmentation. The VA takes Dave's raw, tired, mumbled voice note and translates it into Dave's best, most charming, most professional self.
Give us the example from the case study. I loved the before and after on this.
Okay, so the raw note from the founder was verbatim. Tell them we hit 42% month over month, mention the new enterprise deal.
Very dry.
Yeah.
Very direct. If I got that email, I'd think you were barking orders at me or that you were just a bot.
Exactly. It's functional, but it has no soul. It doesn't build a relationship. Now, here is the VA Connect rewrite. Hey, Sarah. Great chatting last night. You mentioned you were particularly interested in our enterprise traction. I wanted to share that we just closed company name, which is pushing us to 42% mom growth. Would love to grab coffee next time you're in Austin to tell you more.
Wow. Okay, that sounds charming. That sounds competent.
It sounds like a founder who is on top of their game. It sounds personal. It references the actual conversation. And the source makes a critical point here that we can't overstate. Investors can smell templates.
They see thousands of emails a week. Their whole job is pattern recognition.
Exactly. If you send a robotic, as per our conversation, here is the deck, email, they assume you are spamming everyone. You're just another number. If you send a thoughtful note referencing a specific part of the conversation, you mentioned interest in our enterprise traction, they assume you care. They assume you are actually listening.
But the founder didn't write it. The founder was asleep.
The founder provided the intent. The VA provided the execution. And that is the magic of leverage.
It preserves the voice while removing the labor. That's incredible.
Exactly. The founder is in survival mode. The VA is in performance mode.
This leads us to the James case study. This is a prop tech founder mentioned in the research. Tell us about James.
James is the poster child for this system. He collected 120 contacts in 1 month. He was, in his own words, drowning. He was effectively ghosting 90% of the people he met because he was so busy trying to fix product bugs and manage his team.
Which is terrifying when you need to raise money or ghosting your potential saviors.
It's the ultimate paradox. He's too busy working in the business to work on the business. So he brought on a VA Connect executive assistant.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, she processed the entire backlog. She sent 87 personalized follow-ups based on his notes. She scheduled 23 intro calls with VCs and angels.
23 calls in 2 weeks.
Right.
From a cold start, that is a full pipeline.
That isn't just staying organized.
Yeah.
That is active frontline revenue generation. And the kicker, the outcome. He closed a $12 million Series A, and the investors, after the deal was done, specifically cited his professional, consistent outreach as a key reason they trusted him to run the company.
They thought he was a machine. They thought he was this hyper-organized founder.
They thought he had a team of 10 people in-house doing business development. He had 1 person in Johannesburg and a really, really good process.
This brings us to the structure of VA Connect itself. because we keep mentioning them, but I want to pivot to the business model. There is a distinction here that I think is vital for the listener. This is not a marketplace.
No. And that is probably the most important takeaway for anyone looking to hire remote talent. Upwork is a marketplace. Fiverr is a marketplace. You browse profiles, you pick one, you hope for the best, and you hire them.
But that means you are the HR manager. You are the recruiter.
You have to vet, interview, do background checks, train, and then fire them if it doesn't work out.
Which, if you are already overwhelmed, is the last thing you want to do. Let me add hiring manager to my already impossible job description.
Exactly. VA Connect is a managed agency. They were founded in 2008 by Karen. Originally, they were called Lime Tree Consulting, and they rebranded in 2014. They claim to be Africa's largest managed virtual assistant agency.
So they've been around. This isn't a pop-up shop that appeared last week because of the AI boom or the remote work trend.
No, they have history. They have deep institutional knowledge. And managed means they do the heavy lifting for you. They have what they call a strategy-first approach.
What does that mean?
They get on a Zoom call with you, not to sell you, but to analyze you, to understand your business.
Like business therapy?
A little bit. They look at your business, your workflows, your goals, but they also look at your personality. Are you chaotic and need someone highly structured to organize you? Are you a control freak who needs someone to just execute without asking questions?
Do you need a drill sergeant or a nurturer?
Precisely. That matching process is key. I've hired people who were great on paper, but we just clashed on a personality level, and it was a disaster. They handled that matchmaking.
That alone seems worth a lot.
It is. But what really caught my eye in the research and what I think differentiates them from everyone else are the internal programs they've built. They have these branded names for their infrastructure. VA Varsity, Atomic Energy.
VA Varsity pronounced VA Varsity. It sounds like a college sports team.
It kind of is. It's their internal upskilling platform. Think of it like a corporate university or a private Udemy just for their team.
So before a VA ever touches a client's account.
Before they ever see your inbox, they are trained. They are certified. They are trained in HubSpot, Pipedrive, LinkedIn Outreach, the latest AI tools, project management software, and crucial soft skills like professional communication.
So they aren't learning on your dime.
They are learning on VVarsity's time. They hit the ground running on day one.
That is huge. I can't tell you how many times I've hired a freelancer and then spent 5 hours that I'm paying them for watching them watch YouTube tutorials on how to use Trello.
Right. That is you paying for their education. Here, the agency invests in their people up front. But the more interesting program to me is Atomic Energy.
Atomic Energy, it sounds like a superhero drink or a weapon.
It's their wellness and anti-burnout program.
A wellness program for VAs.
Yeah. Personalized diet, exercise programs, and access to expert coaches.
Now, I have to play devil's advocate again. Why does a capitalist business owner in Texas care if their VA in Cape Town is eating salad or going to the gym?
That is the cynical question, right? I'm paying for work, not for their health and happiness. But you care. You should care deeply because of reliability and consistency.
Go deeper on that.
The biggest killer of remote work productivity is burnout and isolation. If your VA is sitting alone in a room for 10 hours a day, eating junk food, not moving, staring at a screen, what happens to their brain?
They crash, performance tanks.
Their cognitive function drops, they get brain fog, they make mistakes, they get sick more often, they get depressed, and eventually they quit. Atomic Energy is designed to prevent that productivity dip. It's proactive.
So it's preventive maintenance for your human capital. You're ensuring the engine is well-oiled.
Exactly. A healthy VA is a sharp VA. A sharp VA doesn't make typos in your investor emails. A happy VA doesn't quit after 6 months.
And then there is VAPI, the two-way happiness program.
Two-way being the key word. It's a structured feedback system. It manages the relationship between the client and the VA, making sure the client is happy. But it also manages the relationship between the VA and the agency, making sure the VA feels supported.
So it's about retention on all sides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the stats from the source material prove it works.
The retention numbers stopped me in my tracks. It just seemed impossible.
98%.
98% retention over a 14-month period for both clients and the VAs. In the BPO world, the outsourcing world, where turnover is usually like, what, 40% a year?
It's unheard of. It is an absolute outlier statistic, and that implies something incredibly valuable: institutional memory.
Ah, Why does that matter so much?
If your VA stays for 2 or 3 years, they know your business better than you do sometimes.
Right.
They know that Sarah from Live Oak likes her coffee black and only takes meetings on Tuesdays. They know your board meeting cadence. They know which clients are annoying and needs careful handling and which ones are VIPs.
You are building a second brain for your company.
Exactly. If you have to rehire every 3 months because of high turnover on a marketplace platform, you are constantly lobotomizing your business. You lose all that knowledge. With 98% retention, you get to keep that brain. It compounds over time.
Let's get to the part everyone is waiting for. The money, the economics. We talked about the $150,000 US hire. We talked about the cheap but risky marketplace hire. Where does VA Connect land on that spectrum?
This is what the sources call the financial alpha. It's where the arbitrage really kicks in.
Yeah.
So we know the U.S. hire is $150K plus, all in. The generic marketplace is cheap but risky and has high management overhead.
Okay.
A VA Connect executive VA ranges from about $25 to $45 an hour.
So it's premium for a VA, but incredibly cheap for a US-based executive level employee.
Yeah, exactly. If you do the math on a typical 30-hour week, which is a common package, you are looking at an annual cost of roughly $39,000 to $70,000.
So compared to the $150,000 Austin hire,
You are saving up to 60%, maybe more. And remember, that $40,000 or $50,000 is your all-in cost. It includes the management, the training via VA Varsity, the wellness via Atomic Energy. You aren't paying payroll tax. You aren't paying for their health insurance. You are not giving them equity in your company.
that equity piece is huge. I feel like founders constantly underestimate that. If you save 1% equity by not hiring a senior BD person early on, that could be worth millions of dollars later if you exit.
Exactly. It's what you'd call non-dilutive labor. You get the work, you get the leverage without giving away the farm.
Now, I have to ask about the ethics here. Some people might hear $40,000 for a full-time equivalent and think, wait, is this just exploitation? Are we underpaying these people?
It's a fair and important question, but you have to look at the local context and purchasing power parity. In South Africa, if you convert that US dollar amount into the local currency, the rand, it is a very, very different story.
Talk to me about the rand.
The exchange rate is very favorable for the dollar. So a salary that seems mid-range or even low in the U.S. becomes a premium, upper-middle-class professional wage in South Africa.
So if you see a local job posting for, say, 12,000 Rand, pronounced 12,000 Rand a month.
These VAs are earning significantly more than the local average for administrative or even junior management work. Because of the strength of the dollar against the rand, you can pay what feels like a discount rate in the U.S., but it converts to a salary that affords a very high quality of life in South Africa.
So it's an arbitrage where both sides genuinely win. The founder saves money, and the VA earns a premium wage.
Exactly. You get access to this incredible pool of top-tier talent people with university degrees, people with years of corporate experience, because you are paying above market rates in their country while paying significantly below market rates in yours.
The sources also mention these packages, the Forge, the Summit, the Apex. I like the naming convention. It's very aspirational.
It is. But what's interesting is the scalability it shows. The Forge is 40 hours a month. That's for the solo founder just needing help with their inbox and calendar.
Getting started.
The Summit is 60 hours. The Apex is 100 hours or more. You can scale up or down as your needs change, which you can't do with a salaried employee.
But here's the cool part I read about, the single point of contact model.
Yes, this is crucial for busy founders. You do not manage a team of freelancers. You have one dedicated EVA, that's Executive Virtual Assistant. But that EVA has backstage access to a whole team of specialists.
Explain that. What do you mean by backstage
Let's
access?
say you need a graphic design for a pitch deck slide. You don't go out and find a designer on Fiverr. You tell your EVA, I need this slide to look better, make it visual.
Okay.
Your EVA turns around, grabs a pre-vetted graphic designer from the VA Connect internal pool, gets the slide designed, checks the quality to make sure it matches your brand, and then gives the finished product back to you.
So I never even talked to the designer.
You never speak to the designer. You speak to your EVA. One throat to choke, so to speak.
That simplifies everything. It's like having a chief of staff who has their own internal agency.
Exactly. You're wrenching an entire department, but you only have to talk to the department head. It solves the bottleneck problem. Usually the founder is the bottleneck for everything. Here, the EVA becomes the traffic controller, routing tasks to the right specialists.
Now, we've focused a lot on investor relations because of the Austin paradox, but VA Connect is more than just email and scheduling, right? The sources talk about the full stack.
They do. They position themselves as building the 1% of the 1% team for you. They have sales assistants for lead gen, prospecting, and CRM management. They have marketing assistants for social media, content creation, and brand identity.
And even technical roles. I saw software engineers mentioned.
Yes, world-class programmers and coders, which, again, there's a huge shortage of that talent in the US, and it's incredibly expensive. South Africa has a booming dev scene, and they have project managers to coordinate distributed teams, which is a skill set all on its own.
There's one little detail in the source material that made me laugh, but it also made me trust them a lot. They listed their key stats, founded 2008, hours, delivered 250,000 plus fucking. And then right there on the page, bad reviews too.
I saw that. I loved it. Most companies would do everything in their power to hide that. They would scrub the internet.
Maybe like, we have 5 stars, we are perfect, never made a mistake.
But putting bad reviews,
Uh,
right next to 250,000 hours delivered is a total power move. It's confident. It says, look, we are not perfect. We are human, but we are 99.999% successful. It builds trust. That kind of transparency is a very rare currency in the outsourcing world.
It really is. It suggests they actually own their mistakes and learn from them.
And that circles right back to the culture, the captain work ethic. Owning the ship means owning the problems too.
So let's zoom out. We've unpacked the problem, the burnout, the lost contacts, the specific humidity of Austin. We've looked at the solution, the time zone arbitrage, the humanization protocol, the managed agency model of VA Connect. What does this actually mean for you, the listener?
I think it fundamentally redefines what it means to be resourceful as a founder.
How so?
For a long time, resourcefulness meant I can do it all myself. I
Right.
can learn Photoshop. I can learn HubSpot. I can write the copy. I can do the accounting.
But DIY founder, the hero who wears all the hats.
The DIY founder.
Yeah.
But in 2026, the complexity of business is too high. The speed of the market is too fast. If you are doing it all yourself, you are moving too slow. You will be lapped. Resourcefulness now means I can build a system that does it for me.
It's the shift from being the player on the field to being the coach, or even the general manager.
Or the architect. You are designing the machine.
Mhm.
And a company like VA Connect is essentially offering you a pre-built high-performance engine block. You just have to install it in your car and steer.
I keep thinking about that anonymous founder's quote from Reddit. VCs want metrics, not your exhaustion.
That's the mantra for this whole deep dive.
You don't get a gold star for suffering. You don't get a medal for burnout. You get a check for execution.
And execution requires bandwidth. It requires focus. If a service like this can give you back 20 hours a week, 20 hours of deep work time to focus on product or strategy or your key customers, that is the difference between a company that dies in the valley of death and a company that raises the Series A.
It's the unfair advantage.
It absolutely is. While your competitor is stuck in traffic on I-35 in Austin, trying to type a follow-up email on their phone with one hand, your team in Johannesburg has already sent 50 personalized notes, updated the CRM, and booked your calendar for the rest of the week. Who wins that race?
The one who built the system.
Every single time.
Okay, let's recap the key takeaways for anyone listening who is currently feeling like they're drowning in business cards and unread emails.
Number one, the Austin paradox is real. You cannot network your way to success if you don't have the back-end system to process those connections. A handshake without a follow-up is a waste of time. It is pure vanity.
Number 2, geography matters more than you think.
The GMT +2 time zone of South Africa is a strategic asset. Use the Why You Sleep workflow to double your operational velocity. It turns your one-person startup into a 24-hour operation.
Number 3, don't settle for generic outsourcing.
The humanization protocol is key. The goal is to sound like the best version of yourself, not a robot. That requires deep cultural and linguistic alignment, which is where the South African talent pool really shines.
And finally, number 4, choose managed over marketplace.
Unless you want to add full-time HR manager to your job title, use a managed agency like VA Connect that handles the vetting, the training through VA Varsity, and the wellness through Atomic Energy. You want a strategic partner, not just a gig worker.
This has been such a fascinating look at how the plumbing, the actual machinery of the startup world is changing. It's not just about the flashy pitch anymore. It's about the engine behind it.
It's the unsexy operational stuff that leads to the very sexy exits.
I love that. The unsexy stuff that leads to the sexy exits. That should be on a t-shirt at the next SXSW.
I'd wear it. I really would.
Before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. We talked about how this changes the founder role.
Yes. I've been thinking about this a lot as we've talked.
Give us your final provocative thought for everyone to chew on this week.
In the future, and I mean the very near future, like right now, the most successful founders won't be the ones who work the hardest. They won't be the ones who work the most hours. We have glorified the 100-hour work week for far too long.
Okay.
The most successful founders will be the ones who have the best clones.
Clones.
Digital clones, human clones, operational clones. The founders who can successfully replicate their voice, their decision-making frameworks, and their execution standards across a distributed leverage system will win. The unfair advantage isn't your handshake anymore. It's not your charisma. It's what happens while you sleep.
Wow.
If your business stops when you close your eyes, you don't own a business. You own a job. And it's probably not a very good one.
If your business stops when you close your eyes, you own a job. That hits hard.
The goal is to build something that lives and breathes without your constant manual input. That is what a service like VA Connect is really selling. They're not selling hours on a timesheet. They're selling you leverage. They are selling you life.
That is a powerful place to end it. If your business stops when you close your eyes, you own a job. Go build a business, everyone. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.